right across the field, border to border now. Cam Meyer is still away. This kid is only just 24 years of age. Just a few days ago, Cam Meyer was 24. And he is now all set here to try and reach this man and help him. Not really beat him, but help him. Plenty of fluid going down, I should imagine, today. They're snatching bottles every time through. Now, that rider that's coming up ahead of Baker Lance is the rider who unfortunately crashed, I think. He's just having to pedal around the course to say he finished the Santos Tour Down Under. The gap between these two is 15 seconds. Come on, Cam Meyer, you can bridge 15 seconds. Home territory here, everybody cheering you.
Well, Phil, if we stop the bike race, as we're looking at it here, with 30 seconds over the main field, Jan Bakelants from Radio Shack Nissan Trek would be the overall winner of the bike race. And you can be certain in the back of their minds, Green Edge and even Movistar are working that out. They're working out the permutations. They're leaving this guy out for a little bit of freedom, but they will not give him too much freedom, and they'll start to chase him down in the latter part of this race. They will not throw away the victory to this young man from Belgium.
Bet your life. He's 19 seconds behind the two equal on time, Valverde and Simon Gerrans. Overall, 19 seconds. He gets 3 seconds in a few moments' time. There's another 10 available at the finish. There's the real time gap between him and the peloton. You're right. They've got to do something about him very shortly, or all of a sudden, a man we haven't mentioned is going to take the trophy back home.
Well, we had mentioned at the start of the day it was quite possible mathematically for at least 6 riders to win this bike race overall. And Jan Bakelants was not one of the names mentioned, but he could be pulling himself up with a performance like this. And if he is very, very good, he could pull himself up to get himself a place on the podium. And that will be noticed by all of the other teams. I don't think he'd like to steal away the place on the podium, because in fact the third place finisher at the moment is his own teammate Tiago Machado from Radio Shack, who did a phenomenal ride yesterday. Look at this. Durbridge has almost got himself across. No, this is a rider who's lapped, sorry.
Yeah, this is a rider who's been dropped off and continues. He's got to ride round to finish the course, but Bakelants has gone through. Cam Meyer gets the second place bonus. We're going to see a sprint Ollie for third place.
I would expect we would, and watch out for Michael Matthews. He'll be looking for time bonuses as well, because he started the day in 9th place in the overall standings. Well, look at this. This is a big acceleration coming up to the line, and it's...
I think it's Hyen Hausler who may have stolen that one. No, look at his face, it's not.
I think it's Haas.
I'm not sure it is, but anyway, it's the same team. It is on Garmin Cervelo, Garmin Barracuda, as it's called now, as they go around that corner. In fact, that was Jack Bauer. Yeah, again.
Well, Jack Bauer there getting himself another couple of seconds. He's going to pull himself a little bit further up again in the overall standings. Has started the day in 11th place overall. 2 more seconds there will bring him up to 33 seconds behind, and that means he will just be tickling the top 10.
All down to second after we've been touring around the South Australian countryside for the last 6 days. The race goes on. There's one man away, one trying to join him, and the peloton scratching their heads right now. Well, there's the long line. They certainly aren't sitting up and allowing these riders to ride away from the pack. They're having to work very hard, and that's the only consolation for the boys in the back at the moment. Jan Bakelants has now closed in on the leaders to the tune of a 3-second time bonus. He's now 16 seconds behind Gerrans and Valverde, with a 10-second time bonus to come. So he can't actually win the race now, but he could get right up amongst it. And forgetting his real time on the road, of course.
Yeah, well, Cam Meyer made the junction at the front there, so I thought he'd been picked up by the acceleration of the main field. So in fact, Jack Bauer only got himself 3rd place there, and he'll be now still looking for 34 seconds, so still in 11th place.
Meyer has made contact with Jan Bakelants, so we've now got 2 leaders up front. And I would suspect that Bauer has probably gone back into the main field here. And Bakelants will be extremely pleased for a little rest in the slipstream. They say in that slipstream, without the wind to contend, you're saving 30% of the effort of the rider in front of you. And he needs a little rest, I think, Jan Bakelants. That was an extremely good move. Now, the Green Edge rider, Cam Meyer, can't allow this to go on too long. What he must not do now is pull Bakerlands 16 seconds ahead of the main field, because if he does, he's handing him the final ochre jersey when we get to the end of this race.
Don't forget, Ken Meyer is a teammate of the overall leader at the moment, Simon Gerrans. They will have worked out all of these connotations and permutations. He's going to continue to ride with Bakerlands for the moment, Phil, because they want to keep the pressure on the main field, keep the pressure on the chase, and then they'll hand it over to the sprinters down towards the end. They will have worked all of this out, and if it starts to look dangerous, then Ken Meyer there, who's sitting in second position, will stop collaborating in this breakaway. But a third rider now is starting to come across the gap, and it's our favourite team from the Basque Country, Euskaltel Euskadi.
Scurrying across the gap on the terrain which doesn't suit the Spanish climbers. Bakerlands has taken his deep breaths. He's now willing to ride with Cam Meyer. Meyer looks to me as though he's eased off the pressure just that little bit. He does not want this gap to open too much. There's still 7.5 laps to the finish here. 6.5 laps rather to the finish. And the Euskaltel Euskadi rider is trying to cross the gap. It's not run away yet. There's still quite a big peloton in the distance.
No, it's a big peloton, and will be once we get closer to the finish, once we see these two riders within that 30-second advantage, you'll start to see different teams coming forward. You'll start to see a move to the front by Lotto Belisol. They'll be thinking about Andre Greipel. And why not another victory for Oscar Freire, who's already got himself a win so far this year for Team Katusha, sprinting extremely well. Heinrich Hausler has been looking for Garmin Barracuda. It really is a role of honor, Phil, of some of the top sprinters in the world. CJ Sutton for Team Sky, and of course looking further down, Alessandro Pataki, Daniele Bernati, and of course the three-pronged sprint attack from Rabobank, Bling Matthews, Mark Renshaw and Graham Brown.
It's a hot day in Adelaide, and this is what they call the business end of the Santos Tour Down Under. We're on lap 13 of 20 of this final 90-kilometre stage as we see the aerial shot above the race circuit, and joined in our host position by the South Australian Premier, Jay Weatherall, who today is here not just as Premier, but as husband and father. Little Lucy, your daughter, had a ride on the challenge this morning.
Yeah, the kids' challenge. Saw about 300 kids run around on the track where the pros were going to be later in the afternoon, so it was a fantastic experience.
And now wife Melissa's been given a treat in the last few minutes as well. She's gone on the back of a motorbike, is that right?
Absolutely, yeah. She's gamer than I am. She followed the course around. Yeah, it's fantastic.
Well, there's been nothing but praise all week for the Santos Tour Down Under, and Eddie Merckx sat in that very chair just a moment ago, making comparisons between the atmosphere you experience at the Tour de France with what he's experienced this week out on the Tour of Down Under.
That makes us feel just so proud. I mean, there's something like 750,000 people have lined the streets. A great free event, just something for everyone, so it's magnificent.
There's so much community spirit out there, and that's borne out every single year, but so much work goes into the organisation of this. The task is to make it even bigger.
Yeah, look, this is a great event city, Adelaide. I mean, we really do these events thing, and the thing about it is it captures the imagination of the entire community. So everyone's part of this. There's something for everyone. The challenge just the other day with people going up to Tanunda, the kids event, people just lining the route. So there's something, it's an elite event, but there's something for everyone.
All right, well, here's the big question. I'll be hard-hitting journalist. When will the people of South Australia see you out on a bike now, maybe riding to work this week? Has it inspired you?
There's a standing instruction in my office that I'm not to be seen in Lycra. So, no, the governor has asked me to be part of his team for next year for the challenge. So I'll be saddling up next year.
Well, there's plenty of people to give a pat on the back for the event, but it's been another super year. Premier must be very proud as a South Australian, and I think all Australian sports fans proud of what we're seeing in the Santos Tour Down Under. Paul Sherwin and Phil Liggett to bring us home.
Well, we're looking, they're still away, these two, and they're working extremely hard. When we have seen pictures of the peloton, Paul, it's funny, and look at that gap that's open now. You know, I'm a bit worried about this. I don't think Cam Meyer should be doing this.
Well, the instruction will come out very quickly. Just going around there, the leader of Euskaltel Euskadi is Romain Sicard, the Frenchman, former under-23 champion of the world. All of a sudden, Cam Meyer is going to be starting to ask himself questions. But as a seasoned professional, Phil, he knows 6 laps to go. That's still a good 25 kilometres, and 30 seconds can be wiped out very quickly indeed.
Well, the whole of Green Edge, including the ochre jersey, have got themselves on the front of the bunch. So they're in control of the bunch. It's up to them to lift the pace and chase their own man down here, because the gap is now 25 seconds. And by my reckoning, we now have a new leader of the Tour on the road.
We certainly do. It's going to be very precarious. But look, you just might notice Stuart O'Grady, he's not actually trying to eat his glove there. In fact, he's having a quick chat to the team management by race radio to try and figure out the permutations, calculations, and the time difference between the main field and that leading trio of riders. They are great professional bike riders. They are guys who race in all of the top international bike races around the world, and they know exactly how to calculate the effort over what distance to bring the race back into the formation that they want it to be in.
Well, Durbridge is on the right. He just does his own tempo riding, doesn't look terribly worried. We've got the pink jersey there of the Lamprey squad. They're looking to deliver Alessandro Patacchi for the win today. He's number 61. You can just see him down there. Well, I'd be getting very nervous. I would be putting out the order, boys. You've got to close this gap.
Yeah, but they don't need to do it just yet. They're actually in a very good situation as far as I'm concerned with a three-man breakaway. 25 to 30 seconds is fine. They can control that. They've got the power in that Green Edge team to pull it back right down in the last couple of laps. And in fact, having a breakaway established, strangely enough, makes the main field calm down a bit, because nobody wants to try and leap across a gap like that. It is so very difficult to get across a gap as a lone rider in speeds approaching 50 kilometers an hour.
Well, we've got Cameron Meyer up front. We've got Luke Durbridge, Matt Goss, Stuart O'Grady, Lee Howard and Simon Gerrans on the head of the peloton. And we've got Robin McEwen acting as guard, and he's only about 5'2", to the rather bigger Alejandro Valverde. His job is to beat him in the sprint if he dares try to go for something. That's where the Green Edge boys are. But right now, the new race leader of this tour is Jan Bakelands on the front, and he knows it. He's gained all the time he's lost.
Well, they've bet everything on these last 2 days of racing of Team Radio Shack Nissan Trek, because they were aggressive yesterday in the race. They had a lot of riders in that leading group when they attacked the Old Wollonga Hill for the last time, including Jens Voigt. But they were counting on Jan Bakelands and, of course, Tiago Machado, their Portuguese rider, who is in third place overall at the start of the day, just looking for 8 seconds. So they have banked on these final few days. It really is amazing to see how much of a showdown this is going to be, as Cam Meyer gets some information there from the neutral service motorbike at the side of the road.
Well, it's very interesting, but they're gambling, because sooner or later the other riders who are on the podium at the moment, like Tiago Machado and Alejandro Valverde, and indeed Sky's Michael Rogers, are going to have to start getting their teams to chase too. So it's a tactical battle back there, and a little bit of a gamble being played by Green Edge that others won't want to throw away a high finish in this race. Bakelands at the moment has risen from the body of the overall in 7th place to ride number 1 on the road right now. He's number 73. The latest gap is 35 seconds now. Well, he's converted his overnight 19-second deficit.
Although it seems as if this is the wrong thing to do, Phil, I have to agree with the tactics. It's the right thing to do. This is a team that has got massive power. You've got Durbridge on the front, Turbo Durbo, as you'd like to call him. You've got O'Grady, you've got McEwen, you've got Matty Goss. These are guys who know exactly what they're doing, and let's not forget also in there as well, Lee Howard. They are controlling it. It's like a cat at the moment, if you like, playing with the mouse. He keeps letting it go. They'll pull it back a fraction. They'll let it go again. Then eventually, once we come to 1 or 2 laps to go, they'll pounce. Sitting on the wheel there, by the way, of the ochre jersey, Michael Matthews, looking very dangerous.
Well, they all want to get up there. They're all gambling here right now. Little flick from Luke Durbridge saying, OK, come on, give me a hand. And Stewie O'Grady there behind him with his jersey undone. Hasn't bothered to come through. Round the banks of the beautiful River Torrens, manicured for the passage of the Santos Tour down under here. There's some lovely cycle trails around the River Torrent as well, and walking trails as well. We're going under the banner there once again now, and it's Sikar, who's had a lot of bad luck and sickness since he won the World Under-23 Road Race Championships. He's now beginning to show himself. It's a scorcher out here today as we're on lap 14. We've hit 36 degrees Celsius, and for all our American viewers, let me just think now.
It's over 100.
It's about 100 degrees exactly out here at the moment.
And that is the actual air temperature, Phil. If you actually stand at the trackside and you get the reflection off the tar road, it probably has gone in excess of 40 degrees Celsius, which is nudging its way up to 110 degrees Fahrenheit. The main field spread all the way across the road are very much now under control of Green Edge. They are happy with this situation. They feel that over the last couple of laps, they can pull that three-man breakaway back any time that they want to. It's a precarious game to play, but I think they've got it right.
Time will tell. We're on lap number 15. This is the final counting Skoda King of the Mountains lap. Since we started, we passed through the 64-kilometre point when we climb Montefiore Hill, and none of these three riders up front need those points. So that confirms our man from South Australia, Rowan Dennis, as the King of the Mountains. 6 laps to go.
6 laps to go. That's about 26 kilometers of racing, and that should take these guys at the speeds that we've been averaging so far. That should take these guys around about the 30 minutes of racing.
Graham Brown second left, following Michael Matthews around the corner. Brownie's won on this circuit. His job today might be different. It might be to lead out that rider that was just ahead of him, Michael Matthews, or indeed Mark Renshaw, if they catch up with the 3 men in the lead. I'm quite sure this is the calm before the storm, because they can't allow this breakaway to gain any more time.
Well, that's interesting to note that Michael Matthews, Bling as they call him, is doing the pacemaking on the front, because the name that rippled to the top of favourites to win a bunch sprint on this final stage of the Santos Tour Down Under this morning, Phil, amongst most of the riders and many members of the press, was Mark Renshaw. Now, Renshaw has moved across from what was the former Team HTC. He was a great lead-out man for the British rider Mark Cavendish in the big races like the Tour de France. He's now decided he wants to try and win for himself. He's obviously given the nod to Team Rabobank as we go over the top of the final Skoda King of the Mountains point. Just getting there, Cam Meyer ahead of Sicard, and in third place, Bakalant.
Quite a routine finish. They weren't really interested in it, and they continue on now. 64 kilometres done at this point, as Cameron Meyer gets on the back wheel of the former World Under-23 champion. 3 riders are clear, and at the moment, Green Edge have lost the edge because a new leader is on the road in Jan Bakelants, but will he stay away?
The donkey asked a mole if he'd look after his carrot. The mole said, "OK, but first, tell me your entire life history." Donkey's years later, Mole said, "This measly thing isn't worth keeping." Then Donkey got depressed, ate his carrot and tried to forget the whole horrid business. And the moral is, no one likes having their time wasted. You can open an ING Direct Savings account in 10 minutes with just £1.
We all brush our teeth in the mornings. But whenever we eat during the day, our plaque acid reaches harmful levels. Chewing Wrigley's extra sugar-free gum helps to neutralise plaque acid and keep your teeth clean.
Eat, drink, chew. Extra.
Go, go, go!
Red State, out Monday on DVD.
Join Sky Poker and get £10 completely free to compete in a growing community of UK players just like you. Use your £10 to play in a range of tournaments at any level. You play in pounds, not dollars, so you know exactly the value of your win. It's easy to join and quick to get to a table, so you can use your £10 right now. Play the nation at skypoker.com. £10 completely free, no deposit required.
The KFC Bargain Bucket. 8 pieces of freshly prepared original recipe chicken and 4 fries, all for an irresistible $10.99.
Beautiful day at the track.
Say the jackpot will top 3 million.
A man gets out of jail by a piece of my racetrack. I think something personal is going on here.
After I do 3 years, you suspect me? I take a fall protecting how many people?
3 years!
Tapped out.
Where is your money?
You don't know how special you are, do you? How you can run, who your daddy was, how they killed him.
I admit I'm halfway nervous.
You think you're the first front in history? I don't trust anyone. Not even myself.
Look, the brand new series coming soon to Sky Atlantic HD.
How embarrassing is that?
Very, I would say, yeah. Lap 16 of 20. Peloton are just going through the bottom there as we continue to do another circuit here, and the gap remains, so sooner or later, and I would say it's got to be sooner now, because Green Edge have just relinquished the front position to the Lamprey boys. I feel as though the Lamprey boys will start to work, because they will believe that Alessandro Patacchi, or Ali Jet as we call him, will have the speed to win on this type of circuit.
Well, the fact is that, yes, you're right, Phil. It suits a guy like Alessandro Patacchi and, of course, Andre Greipel, because it is a strong, powerful man's finish. And you can get a little bit deceived by the fact that you might think King William Street here is flat. I can tell you it certainly isn't. And when you start to add in a little bit of a cross headwind as well, it's almost like a little climb coming up to the finishing line.
Inside 5 laps from the finish of the 14th edition of the Santos Tour Down Under. It's a beautiful, warm summer's day. Warm, it's a scorcher here. Everybody enjoying themselves, watching the riders. It is a real nail-biter now, because we've talked all day about Valverde and about Simon Gerrans starting this final day equal on time and watching each other like hawks. And up the road goes Jan Bakelants, and at the moment he's the virtual leader of the Tour.
Now, that's a very brave move, I have to say, by Radio Shack Nissan Trek. And you can just see the Leopard written down the side, indicating this is the amalgamation of 2 of the big teams of the international circuit last year. These boys, for me, feel they are hovering. They're being kept in a state of suspended animation, if you like, while we wait for the big teams of all of the sprinters, and there's 20-odd sprinters in this bike race here this afternoon, to come to the front, put the hammer down and pull them back into the fold.
Well, as many of you will know, when you watch the Tour de France in the month of July, how many times does the breakaway fall to the sprinters in the last 2 or 3 kilometres of the day? Those boys can whip the speeds up on this sort of a circuit, 60, 65, maybe 70 kilometres an hour. And so while it's only at half a minute, it is catchable.
It certainly is. That C-card on the front, under 23 world champion a couple of seasons ago. And I've always thought that this is a rider who's got an awful amount of talent. And very often riders with talent, they tend to be a little bit like fragile thoroughbred racehorses, as is Simon Gerrans there, number 4 in the ochre jersey. He's surrounded by all of his teammates, feeling nice and comfortable.
Well, just thinking, Paul, as you watch the pro cyclists go around the park here, just how this race has developed a cycling culture here in South Australia. And now many people are deciding a bike is the way to get round. You know, now 8,000 people ride to work in this city of Adelaide. You can see more of South of Australia by bike. It's a cycling haven. I'll vouch for that, because I ride here while I'm here. Sealed paths, off-road trails, and of course on-road bike paths as well. You can cycle from the city to the beach through the wineries of the Barossa. That's the view from Mount Lofty, the Barossa Valley, McLaren Vale, and all of these stunning locations. And sooner or later, you'll finish up right back here in the heart of the city of Adelaide. Just to confirm the order over the line, it was indeed Meyer, Sikar and Bakelants over the top. So that confirms what we said earlier. Rowan Dennis has won the King of the Mountains competition. That's our first competition finalised. The others are still open for grabs, not least the ochre jersey just now. But Rowan Dennis, who's a youngster, is having a magical start to the year, and I feel we're going to see him not only in the World Championships in Melbourne on the track at the end of March, but we're going to see him in London at the Olympic Games in the team pursuit probably. And the boys he most likely will meet in the final will be Great Britain. Oh, we're going to have a wonderful time there.
And I have to say, Phil, it was actually great to bump into his grandma and his granddad just before the start of the race here this afternoon. And I can tell you, their faces were beaming with smiles at the proudness they've got to see their grandson, and especially the performance that he threw into this bike race yesterday.
The peloton, well, they've tried to get other teams to do work. They've not bothered. So the Green Edge have had to come back up to the front now and take control again. Each time they come, they've got to lift this tempo. Because of the nature of the course, when they come up and down King William Road, they know exactly where that lead group is because they cross. If they don't cross, then they really are warning bells ringing, because that means they've gone too far ahead. 16, lap 16. We're heading up towards lap 17 in just 1 kilometre. Just 4 laps to go in a few moments' time, and they're going to have to chase this breakaway down very soon. Under the banner here at Montefiore Hill, we're on lap 17 of 20. The peloton now visibly movement down there, trying to reposition themselves. The Green Edge is trying to chase down the leaders. They're still clear. Jan Bakelants, Roman Sikar and Cameron Meyer. Robin McEwen is number 2. Number 4 is the man in the ochre jersey. He wants to keep it, Simon Gerrans. Moving up on his shoulder there is his teammate Matty Goss.
However, the composition in the first 20 riders is now starting to change. I just noticed at number 11 creeping into the action. There he is in the white and black jersey with the red shorts. That's Andre Greipel, and the rider just in front of him is the Kiwi Greg Henderson. Henderson, again, one of those big transfers. One of these very important, if you like, pilot fish that leads out the sprinter over the last 400 or 500 meters. He was originally part of Team Sky's lead out for guys like Ben Swift or CJ Sutton. He's now moved across this winter to be the lead out man for Andre Greipel. Greipel and his team now starting to take a little interest in this final stage.
So too is team FDJ. They're doing an awful lot of work right now. The 2 French boys on the front. Robin McEwen's moved up into 3rd place. McEwen has won this particular stage of the race on 4 occasions. It's the last time he will ride on Australian roads before retirement looms midway through the 2012 season. Meanwhile, lest we forget, these are the 3 leaders out front. Roman Sikar willing to work. I see now that Cam Meyer's gone to the back. Has he stopped working, or is he going to go and give a hand? That'll be interesting. That gap is serious, Paul. 51 seconds.
That is why we're now starting to see number 1 cease in the participation of trying to make this breakaway a successor. They kept it off of the front for an awful long time, and 51 seconds is now starting to look precarious, which is why you will not see number 1 participate in the pacemaking anymore.
The message has come, sit on, gap is too big. If they were to lose the race because of this action by Bakelants, it would be very embarrassing. There's no other way we could describe it. I think Paul Sherwin is right. I think the firepower will cross the gap at least to a manageable distance if they don't catch them. But we'll see.
Well, it'll all depend really very much on what the other teams want to do. But bear in mind that throughout this Santos Tour Down Under this year, Phil, there are not a lot of teams that have had success. There are 19 teams here from all over the world. And Andre Greipel has won multiple stages. Katusha have won stages. You've had the Uni SA team have won stages. But some of the big teams have not got the success out of this race that they would like to get out of it. Of course, Sky Pro Cycling is one of those teams. They would like to try and get a victory if they can with CJ Sutton. And what about Rabobank, who've got Michael Matthews, Mark Renshaw and Graham Brown? They're great sprinters. They too will not want to go away from this race without a single victory under their belt.
Out onto lap 18. These are the simple facts. If the rider first round the corner right now in the white there, Jan Beeklands, wins this stage and a 10-second time bonus, then Simon Gerrans must cross the line no more than 5 seconds after he crosses the finishing line. And we're 52 seconds apart right now.
You can feel the nervousness now there. You can see Lotto over on the left-hand side in Lotto Belisol with the black, white and red jerseys. They are starting to get themselves lined up. They reckon they've probably got the best prospect of a third stage victory in stages of the Santos Tour Down Under this week with their big man, Andre Greipel.
Liquigas, who had a winner on this stage a few years ago in Francisco Kiki, now taking the lead around there too. Lap 18. There's got to be a change of attitude at the front, and it's got to be now. It can't go on.
Well, interesting to have a sponsor like Santos in oil and gas and have a bike team competing in your event called Leaky Gas.
FDJ quite clearly have an interest in this right now. They're sending a lot of teammates up here just to try and help out. They lost Frederic Guedon, who's still in hospital, by the way, with the hairline fracture of his hip, and it might be a little bit of a while before he'll be transferred home. They want Johini Hutrovic, who's been sprinting extremely well. He's had places over the week. Given the right approach to the line, he could land the win.
Well, he was second in Victor Harbour in a very close finish with Andre Greipel. I noticed Sandy Kassar, in fact, had moved up into 4th place in that line of riders from FDJ. So obviously that's why they're moving to the front this afternoon, because what they want to do is make sure that they have a good crack at the line, and they've got a very good chance, especially with this slight line. It's always a little bit of a complicated sprint when you come down to this final day, because everybody will take risks to win in a city centre. It's the way many of the great stage races around the world like to finish. You've got the Tour de France finishing on the Champs-Élysées. You've got the big Milan-San Remo usually finishing in, the Tour of Italy usually finishing in Milano. And here we've got the Santos Tour Down Under finishing right in the heart of the capital city of the state of South Australia, Adelaide.
Absolutely. Under the Skoda banner again now. It's beginning to look tenuous. Nobody, they're going to thank Green Edge, going to thank Française des Jeux, because they definitely want Hutrovic to win the stage, and therefore they're using that team to close it down a little bit. Meyer is sat on now. It was Meyer's riding that got them in this situation. Now he's sat on, and he's hoping they come back pretty cool, because a bigger gap than 5 seconds. Meyer's a fairly good finisher. He might well win the stage. Then there would be a little bit more leeway. Then Gerrans would only have to cross the line 8 seconds behind the winner. That's the difference the bonuses will make. This is the man who has thrown the gauntlet down and delivered a terrific tactical maneuver.
He must, though, Phil, in the back of his mind, Cam Meyer there sitting in 3rd position saying, uh-oh, what have I done? But he shouldn't panic too much. That's what he's looking back for, to try and gauge what the gap is. And
he's got to be concerned.
He will be concerned, because he's the man who put a bit of firepower into that breakaway. But I know that Neil Stevens at the side of the road, or Matty White, the team managers of this Green Edge squad, they are very canny tacticians. Let's not forget that Matty White is the defending coach, if you like, of the Santos Tour Down Under, because he led Cameron Meyer to victory in this race last year, albeit for a different team.
And now they both moved to the Green Edge team. And it looked like a very intriguing double for Matt White from Sydney. Peloton going around this corner. They're running out of road on this race. They need more firepower at the front, more fuel to the smoke box, and at the moment they're allowing only the French squad, FDJ, to do the work.
Well, that's Sandy Kassar, you might have noticed, just coming to the front, a winner of 3 stages in his career at the Tour de France. And you know, for a long, long time, he was regarded as being an eternal second for the French, because he finished second on 4 individual stages of the Tour before he finally cracked his duck and got a win in 2007 on the road into Angoulême. And I think, if I remember correctly, on that occasion, Phil, he'd been involved in a very nasty accident when he T-boned a dog. The dog was okay, by the way.
Yeah, all the emails were not how Sandy Kassar was, ripped the side of his shorts out. He got back on his bike and he won the stage, but left the dog looking rather sad in the ditch. Anyway, the dog was perfectly all right. We actually had a full correspondence course with its owner, but sadly it's now grown old and it's passed away.
going on to the rest of his victories as we continue that story. He won in Bourg-Saint-Maurice, a massive big race through the Alps in 2009 after a disqualification of Mikel Astroloza. But of course he did beat Lance Armstrong to the line in his last Tour de France in 2010 when he won the stage into Saint-Jean-de-Maurienne.
Yes, but he has to work for his stage wins. He's not a daily winner like a sprinter. He has to maneuver into these breakaways and win from there. Meanwhile, as we come toward the end of lap number 18 with 2 laps still to ride, a little bit of picture freeze there. That saves us losing the pictures altogether, though. We're back with the 3 leaders. 9 kilometers to go, Paul. I'd be sweating right now if I was watching this from the roadside.
Well, you're not a poker playing man like I am, and I would be playing the poker game that Matty White
player.
And of course Neil Stevens will be playing. They will be looking over their shoulders. They know the firepower that these professional teams can put in over the last 10 kilometers. I think really if these 3 wanted to survive, they would need to cross this finishing line now with a gap of in excess of a minute. And looking back down that finishing straight, when we come to the line, I think it's only going to be 30 seconds.
Well, if it's 30 seconds, it needs to be wipe out with a lap to go. The sprinters would have the day. That would be the perfect scenario right now. There is the peloton. They've got them in sight. They're not coming back fast enough as far as Cam Meyer is concerned. And there's no more drinks, is there? There are just 1 or 2 drinks. They're getting to the point now where they'll stop all of this drink giving up at this point.
I think it was 22 seconds on the line for the main field. You see, the professionals are judging it right down to perfection. Ochre jersey there on the shoulders of Simon Gerrans. He's looking towards the front of this race. He's looking at his teammates, allowing them to do all of the pacemaking. He's counting away the laps now, but I keep looking to see where is Alejandro Valverde. You look out for the lime green helmets. That's Movistar from Spain. They are the guys who could create the surprise on the last day of this race, in the last sprint, on the last kilometre of 6 days of racing.
Cam Bakerlance here is just very nonchalantly keeping up the rhythm there. They know they're carrying a passenger now in Meyer, whose job would be to win the stage if he had to. 91 is down there. That is Valverde. He's not bothered to mark Simon Gerrans at all. Has he conceded? It's a big question right now.
But notice his teammate with the red bands and the yellow band right through across the middle, the champion of Spain, Jose Joaquim Rojas. He's always there in attendance, just in case his team leader, Alejandro Valverde, has any kind of mechanical problem or a mishap. There's somebody alongside immediately to help him, pass over a bike even, to allow him to get back into the bike race as quickly as possible, especially when you get down to these final few laps when a mechanical incident here could rob you of all of the work done over this full week of racing.
The sprinters teams have taken over. There's number 4. He is the leader, Simon Gerrans. He's being protected by Lee Howard and Matt Goss. They're riding near him, keeping out of trouble. And the red number in front, Stuart O'Grady. It's red because he was voted the most aggressive rider in the breakaway yesterday. They're surrounding their leader to try and keep him clean now. Inside 9 kilometers to his victory, but they will not get that victory if they don't close this gap down by a few more seconds.
That's the precarious thing that they have to do. They've played together. Well, look at this now. You see Cameron Meyer, Phil.
He's gone back to lead the charge,
by the team, get back to the main field because we do need
he
that
has.
little
He's gone the other way. He's jumped him.
Well, that's amazing.
Well, that's a tactic. If this works out for Green Edge, I take my hat off to them, because they've not just defended for Gerrans, they're trying to win the race as well. We haven't won a stage for Green Edge yet. Meyer has gone away on his own. He's dropped. Well, I'm sorry we missed the attack, because it must have been very special on the climb.
Well, I tell you what, you turn your face away for 1 second away from the television screen, and all of a sudden we've got a brand new story going on here, because Cam Meyer, all of a sudden, defending champion, has leapt out of the pack. He's taken Bakerlance by surprise, but there is the storming main field, and I'll tell you one thing, you won't let Green Edge chase this one down.
The storming main field has just handed back the race to Simon Gerrans, because they are together. And they continue now to wipe out. This is most interesting. Just hanging off the front is Bakerlance. It's all over, though. He'll be back in the field imminently. Now, what are the sprinters going to do against one of the fastest riders alone in the world?
Well, I tell you what, Phil, I would not have called that in 100 years. And look at the gap he's got. He's got a good 15 to 18 seconds advantage over the main field. Now, the teams of the sprinters all of a sudden are going to say, uh-oh, I think we miscalculated here, because Cam Meyer is a class act, a world champion on the track, and as you said, Phil, he can ride extremely fast. And right now, I can almost hear that turbo whistling. In fact, I think it's a twin turbo.
At 24 years of age, Cam Meyer is the star of the future. We knew that last year when he was on this race, celebrating as final winner of it at the first attempt. And now he's here defending for his team. Green Edge is all for one and one for all, as long as the victory's in the camp. But that is a cheeky move, to take a dangerous man into such a winningly move like that, then leaving him, sending him back to the peloton, and leaving with 1.5 laps to go, the real chance of an incredible double, the stage and the race.
Well, Garmin Cervelo now moving, Garmin Barracuda, sorry, coming up to the front there, because they'll be thinking about either Nathan Haas or Heinrich Hausler coming down towards the end, and that's why they've sent somebody forward. That's 1 kilometre to the end of the penultimate lap. And yes, Phil, that is a very cheeky move. It's a gutsy move by Team Green Edge to try not only to win the bike race overall by taking all of the cake and the icing home on the final day.
The way the race has gone, it either makes, if it doesn't work, it makes the team embarrassed and ridiculed in the press, but if it works, they're absolutely a genius. And look at his face now as he races up towards the line and get the bell this time. As he goes out on lap 20, he'll have all of the support of South Australia now.
Well, I would say any other professional bike rider in the world would need a good 45 seconds advantage at this point, but not Cam Meyer. I reckon if Cam Meyer has got 20 to 25 seconds advantage when he crosses the line this time and hears that bell lap, he's in with a shout.
The crowd are beating the boards to death now as Meyer gets the bell here, and how fitting is this? Last year's winner of this race overall takes them into the last lap of this year's edition. He heads up to the full turn. He's hurting himself. He's got the legs. He's trying to hold off the whole field now.
Well, as he goes round the top, the bell, I can just hear not too far away from the commentary box, Phil, there, is going out for the front end of the main field. That gap, it's about 15 seconds. It will be precarious. And Alessandro Patacchi has got his men up to the front end of the field. I noticed Jose Joaquim Rojas was there without Alejandro Valverde. This is the final lap. This is the big sprint, the penultimate time that these guys, the last time these guys will go out on this course here this afternoon. And now the chase is on in earnest. Daniele Benati moving up there for Radio Shack, Nissan Trek. The big sprint is on.
And the big time trial is on right here at the front. For the past 2 years, he's been the national individual time trial champion of Australia. He lost that title to Luke Durbridge by a few seconds just a couple of weeks ago near Ballarat in Learmouth. And now he's proving once again the magic of those legs. He is the World Madison champion currently as well with Lee Howard.
Well, they've got themselves organised. Different teams coming forward. Look at this. Lotto Belisol coming forward. That is for their big man, Andre Greipel. I can't see him just yet, but he will be right in there in the midst, waiting for his moment to come out of this pack and go for it. Gregor Bole is there too for Team Lamprey. That does mean, as we mentioned earlier, Phil, Alessandro Patacchi would like to have a good crack at this here this afternoon. But the lone leader, the defending champion of the Santos Tour Down Under, is on his own, and he's still in with a shout if he can get over the top of Montefiore with a good advantage over the main field. But I'll tell you one thing, his legs right now are whistling at him, and they're not whistling a happy tune because they are burning.
Well, he's been on the attack all day, totally in defence of his team man Gerrans, and now he's got his chance to go alone. He's not damaging his teammates' lead. He's taken away the 10 seconds bonus, which will ruin it for everybody else, but more importantly, he will deliver Green Edge's first stage win ever in the Santos Tour Down Under, and Gerrans will deliver the overall. He's on to Montefiore Hill, and I must say he's dancing on those pedals very nicely. As the Bole, I think it is. No, it's still FD. No, it is Bole on the front, and there's a surge on the right of the road, as we saw there. These boys now, suddenly a tsunami coming over the hill.
Just 10 seconds advantage as the men in the pink and blue jerseys of Team Lamprey, Alessandro Patacchi, who will be possibly launched into the attack by Danilo Hondo, himself a very good sprinter. Cameron looks over his shoulder now, Phil. He knows how fast these guys can be over the last kilometre and a half, and he knows his chances are being reduced with every pedal stroke, but he will not give up. sadly, I have to say, I'm going to predict, Phil, he'll be back in the fold in the next 15 seconds.
It's possible, and it's Pataki's team who's doing the damage here with a little bit of help from Française des Jeux, the team of Eugenie Hutrovic. There's the swamping of Cameron Meyer, but what a gutsy effort that was. Now it is the sprinters who have their day, and if Alejandro Valverde finishes in the first three and Gerrans is behind him, Gerrans will lose the Tour at the very last sprint. But the other side of the coin is the real sprinters of this race are licking their lips, and this is the team now of Andre Greipel, who goes round the corner in fourth position. He's lining up. The gorilla is about to go on the march again. Adam Hansen tries and grits his teeth here. The Sky team are trying to get Chris Sutton on hand as we head up towards the last couple of kilometres of this race. I don't think we're worried about with the destination of the final ochre jersey now, because the real sprinters have decided this is for them. The final showcase of what has been an intriguing race down under here this year. The 14th edition of the event. And boy, the Europeans have now got the hang of it. They're coming here as fit as fleas to take on the Aussies. Lotto Belisol has been a magnificent team in this race. They've twice delivered Greipel for the victory. Remember, they lost one of their strongman, Jürgen Roland, who fractured his number 6 vertebrae on day one in the crash at Clare. He's in the hotel. He might even be watching these pictures right now. He's okay, and he will be as soon as the bones heal. But he's able to return home with his team. The team are now inspired for more victories here. The Australian on the squad is Adam Hansen, the Kiwi on the squad, and the last lead-out man for him will be Greg Henderson. But can Andre deliver? He showed us he could at Tanunda, rather not at Tanunda. That was where we saw the victory of Oscar Freire. He delivered in the opening stage, though. 2 wins so far. There's an attack by Sky moving up on the outside of the road here. And this is a kick very early on by Sky. Looks across to see who's taking him on as the sprint starts now. Greipel has got it, though. He just makes it all so easy. Mark Renshaw is second. Alessandro Petacchi is third. The gorilla roars again. He takes it right on the line. He can't believe it. He's lost it in 2 days. He lost 24 minutes. He doesn't like the mountains, but when the road suits him, he just goes over and crushes his opposition. And this one, I think, really has delighted him. It's the second time he has won here on this final stage in Adelaide. He won back in 2008. There's Michael Matthews coming through. There, though, is the winner, just going off camera right. And Green Edge have got their first victory in the very first World Tour Series race, the Santos Tour Down Under. Quite honestly, they always say that Jerry Ryan has the Midas touch. Well, he's launched a team into the world cycling here, and he's done it with a victory in the first tour of the year. Well done to Green Edge, and there's the congratulations here to all of the riders on Green Edge. Stuart O'Grady, Matt Goss to the left of our picture, and there is Jürgen Roland strapped up with a neck brace on. But Andre Greipel is the man who's got 3 of these 6-stage wins. Well, what wonderful atmosphere. I can see that Jürgen Roland would like to give him a big hug as well, but he daren't because he's in such pain. These are the boys. Luke Derby's taking his crash helmet off. The work they did today, they took the race to the riders. Let's have a look again at the sprint for the win today. A win which gave Greipel his third and took all chance away from Valverde of getting any bonuses to steal the race from Simon Gerrans. The team did a #1 job. They used Adam Hansen and Greg Henderson, an Aussie and a Kiwi, to finish the job off. A late rush for the line by Team Sky, but Greipel just waited and waited. He's the second wheel here, and then he kicks the game with all his strength, and there ain't nobody can match that speed just now. He's really very, very fit. Just coming up behind him there is Mark Renshaw. Alessandro Petacchi is in 3rd place. It was Petacchi's boys that chased down the breakaway, remember. Greipel happy enough with that. The bonus is going away in effect. 10 for Greipel doesn't matter. He lost 20-odd minutes in the last 2 days. And there's Chris Sutton on the left of our picture here, trying to get on terms at the finish. But nobody has had any answer to those. I reckon each of those thighs weigh about 25 kilos each as they pump on those pedals up to the line. And I believe Paul Sherman's left my side, so he's got to be now with Andre Greipel, Paul.
Thank you, Phil. I'm down here with Andre Greipel. Andre, you're looking very lean and mean this year, but I have to say you made that sprint look very, very easy.
What can I say? I think the team was just amazing what they did there. I thought it would be very too early that we hit the front, but I need to say chapeau for the guys. It was amazing. The guys made the sprint look easy, but I could save myself for the last 200 meters, and I'm just happy for the guys and for myself to finish it off here at the Tour Down Under.
It always seems to me that when you come to the South Australian races, you start the year off with this heat. It makes a great foundation for the season, and some of your greatest seasons have started right here in South Australia.
Yeah, I always like to come back. It's just a nice start of the season always here. Anyway, I have to train in January somewhere in Mallorca or whatever, so I always prefer to go here.
So we're going to have to change your nickname, I think, Andre, now, because this week pretty much you have been the dominator rather than anything else.
I think Team Lotto Belisol was a dominant team. Yeah, okay, in the GC we were not in the front, but all the rest in the sprint finishes, I think we've shown that